Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the NASCAR Heat 5 Career Mode. I hope you're all having a great day. Today, we go racing at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, but first, we have a huge announcement, probably so far the biggest announcement of the Career Mode with mods in our series, and it is time to unveil a brand new series, the NASCAR Legend Series, presented by Drive-Thru Designs. Finally get to share this with you. This is an idea I've had since midway through last season, and I'm finally able to bring it here to you guys. So here's basically what it is. NASCAR makes a big announcement today, revealing the NASCAR Legends Series. The series will be presented, like I said, by Drive-Thru Designs, and will feature stars of NASCAR from the past, like Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson, Tony Stewart, maybe Clint Boyer. But there will also be current stars in the lineup, like Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, maybe Kyle Busch, just to name a few, and a few NASCAR content creators. Michael Cozy Jr. already going to be in there, as you guys know him as Winval. Moonhead's going to be there, David Schoenhaus and whatnot, plus an NFL player, Antonio Williams, is set to field a team in the series as well. And here is what the cars are going to look like. For the most part, I will make some tweaks to kind of finesse it a little bit, but basically it's kind of like an IROC style with the name on the side, the number towards the back. You see Elliott, you see Michael Cozy's car there, so very excited for this. Joey Stone as well, a good friend of mine, driving the 29 car next season, so I'm very excited to bring this to you guys. I've been holding it back for quite a while, and I really hope you guys like the idea, but obviously we're going to have a full field of modded cars now as we come through into the Xfinity series, where we have some new modded cars as well. Haley Deegan, Monster Energy, as well as a 66 car that is modded, and then we also have the 74 car that is now got a modded paint scheme, and that is all due to FRG Designs on Twitter. He hit me up saying he would like to make a few Xfinity schemes for this series, and he's done a great job with them now. So you're going to see some new modded schemes in the Xfinity series as we move on through this series here with the career mode. So big thanks to him. I'll link his Twitter in the description now, as well as I should have put it on the screen there, hopefully, if I remember now, as we're here in the Xfinity series race, so at Indianapolis for the Indiana 250 with Paul Menard behind the wheel. Every time we come to Indianapolis, at least on the Cup Series side of things, we know we're going to be a threat to win this race. We always have strong runs. We've won at this track before in the Cup Series. We've also come up short a few times as well, so we really never know exactly how it's going to turn out for us, but hopefully it works out today here. Now, as of course, Paul Menard, not the greatest start to this race. He was stuck on the outside as well, so it was definitely taking him a little bit of time here to get moving throughout the field as he got to the back of the 7 of Justin Allgaier. Made it 3 wide actually out of turns 4 down this front straightaway. He was definitely not holding back at all, getting aggressive here, as Haley Deegan, by the way, was out front leading the way here in Indianapolis. So she won her first Xfinity Series race recently, and then of course got called up to the Cup Series to race for Stewart Haas Racing next season full-time in the 4 car, in replacement of Kevin Harvick. She's done a couple Cup races already. She did 1 last season, and then she did 2 this season, filling in for the 14 of Chase Briscoe now as we came through towards the end of this race, by the way, and Paul was just continuing to work his way forwards now as he was up the inside of the 1 of Timmy Hill. Of course, Timmy going to the Cup Series next season full-time in a top ride over at Chip Ganassi Racing, who just announced they will have a 3rd full-time car next season, which is going to be very exciting to see how they can do as well now as we come to now towards the end of this race. We're right on this final lap, and Haley Deegan was still out front out of turns 4 heading down this front straightaway for the final time. So Haley Deegan, sure enough, would come through to get her 2nd Xfinity Series win of her career now, as Paul Menard unfortunately didn't have the best result, but it was still solid. It was up inside the top 10, P6. Can't complain about that there, as that gets us just even more points to increase our buffer now in the points. But of course, we already have a few wins, so we're locked into the playoffs, and absolutely no reason to be concerned about anything now, as you see the rest of the finishing order here as we get ready for the Cup Series side of things. There's Cesar Baccarella at the very bottom of the field. So P6 right now in the standings. Haley Deegan, by the way, is only 6 points below the lead in the standings, which I found a little bit surprising because I actually thought she was having a rough season, but clearly I am wrong. Now as we come through into the Cup Series side of things with the Razor paint scheme back on the car. In the last episode we had, of course, the Pocono doubleheader where we had some strong runs. Couldn't quite pull off a victory, but overall we ran really well, and now as we come through into qualifying, our goal was a 51.815, and we come through to cross the line with a 51.290 and qualify on row number 2 here in P4 for the Brickyard 400. So very, very strong qualifying effort. Unfortunately, though, on the outside for the original start is Austin Cindric finds himself on pole, and likely in a must-win situation Cindric is if he wants to make it into the playoffs this season. So in a great spot to potentially potentially get that win today now as Joey Gase rounds out the field. Alex Bowman down there in the mid-30s along with Ryan Blaney. All right, boys, fresh off of the Pocono doubleheader, we had some strong runs there. We know we got the speed, so let's go make it happen today. Let's have a good one. There you hear myself on the radio once again as we're getting ready to take the green flag here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the Big Machine Vodka 400 at the Brickyard. And you already seen the stories of the race. Definitely going to be a lot of speed today, potentially, from that 33 of Austin Cindric. As I just mentioned, he was in a position where he probably has to win to get into the playoffs as Joey Gase and Daniel Suarez starting at the back of the field here now as we get ready to take the green flag on the outside of the number 82 of Casey Kane. So a great effort from that Red Bull Racing team, by the way, now as we are ready finally to go green. Now as the green flag is down, we are underway for the Brickyard 400. Right behind us, Bubba Wallace on that row number 3, along with one of the McLaren drivers of Eric Jones there in that 02 car. I've also been kind of mentioning that there could be a potential shakeup with that McLaren team next season in terms of the roster. Potentially Zane Smith is rumored to be leaving that team, so we'll have to wait and see what happens here as there's been so many silly season changes coming out of nowhere, and obviously with today's big announcement here with this brand new series coming to the career mode just continues to add on to that silly season. And I can confirm we already have some huge announcements still on the way as you see me giving a huge push to the 19 of Harrison Burton down that back straightaway into turn 3 to get myself and him up towards that first place driver of Austin Cindric, but it did not work because Cindric was still long gone here. So a great start for that 33 of Cindric, but we were already pulling away from 4th place on back as I looked to the inside of the 19 out of turns 4. So side by side with Harrison Burton, he definitely was lacking speed in that car because to my surprise we drove right on by him here, cleared him no problem by the time we went down into turns 1 with 10 laps remaining in stage 1. So we come through all the way to lap 6 and I was finally starting to close in on Cindric. It took me a good 3 to 4 laps to even start reeling him in a little bit. So now as the laps were going on, we were closing in a ton all of a sudden. So he definitely was falling off as the run went on. You can just see how much I'm closing already, down to 7/10 of a second there as the last time we crossed the line. I think it was a full second. So again, 3/10, and then we come through to the end of lap 6, approaching lap 7, and now we're within drafting range as we're within about 4 car lengths or so and continuing to close with 5 laps to go in stage 1 as we dive down into the corner. But running someone down at Indianapolis is one thing, passing them is a complete different story now, as it is very hard to complete passes on the inside now as you see myself making a move to the inside of Austin Cindric there as we go down towards turns 3, trying to pull it off now, and unfortunately the first attempt was not a success. Now as you're going to see that 33 fight back there on the outside through 3 down into turns 4, and I realize once again that we're in that same situation that we've always been here at Indianapolis. You just can't seem to complete the pass. So that puts you in a position where you really have 2 options. You can try to make a pass on the outside, which is very challenging. We almost did that on Chase Elliott for a win, actually, last season. Or you can just full send it on the inside into the corner and just hope you slow down enough in time to stay clear of the driver in front of you. Now, as we are going down into turns 3, and to my surprise here, we actually got through here really well as we came through and cleared the 33 of Cindric. So I didn't even have to send it hard into the corner. So that was really just proving how much that 33 was falling off, because I passed him really with no competition that time. On the first attempt, he was of course able to have a lot more fight against myself, but we make it work that time now as we take over the lead here in the Brickyard 400 now, as we're really no stranger to leading races at Indianapolis. This is one of the tracks where similar to Martinsville as well as Bristol, I come to this track, I expect to lead and contend for the race victory. Of course, last time we went to Martinsville, we weren't even close to being a factor for leading that race or winning that race. Somehow we still had an opportunity at the end of that thing. Now as we come through already to the final lap of stage 1, Austin Cindric there in that Penske 33 car, the Money Lion Ford Mustang, still runs in that second position, but we had opened up a very large gap between himself and I now as we go down this backstretch for the final time. Of course, 3 wins on the season right now, tied for the most with the Joe Gibbs Racing driver of Harrison Burton, who was actually able to beat us in the last race in the second Pocono doubleheader race just by a few car lengths. So we come through out of turn 3. There you see the top 5 there. Joey Logano has worked himself up towards that top 5 spot as we come through turns 4 for the final time here in stage 1. Bubba Wallace definitely closing the gap to the 33 of Cindric. So Bubba having a good day when it's absolutely crucial for him to have a good day, about 30 points below that cut line right now to make the playoffs. But we come through to win stage 1 here in the Brickyard 400. No competition there whatsoever. I sure hope the rest of the race is like this, guys. That was, I mean, probably the easiest stage win of my career right there. There you hear myself on the radio, just absolutely probably the easiest stage we've ever won. Now, once we got past that 33 of Cindric, we were long gone, so we would, of course, come into the pit lane here for 2 cans of fuel, as well as 4 fresh tires, as you see the rest of the order on your screen right now. Ryan Blaney has worked his way into the mid-20s, Alex Bowman's working his way forwards as well. Sheldon Creed, actually, at the bottom of the field, ends up DNFing, so he must have crashed right at the end of the stage, because the caution did not come out for him, but he would sure enough be on the pit lane there, and his day would be over now, as we get ready to go green for the start of Stage 2, and with the stage underway, of course, we'll now go through into the AMP segment. There you had the AMP segment here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the Brickyard 400 as Stage 2 got underway, but you see here at the end of this first lap, we are only just in front of the 23 of Bubba Wallace now as he actually looks up my inside into turn 2, so the 23-11 driver moves through to the lead. Bubba Wallace out front here in Indianapolis. I was just mentioning earlier, he's in a position where he really needs to have a good run. One of the only drivers really that has a comfortable chance, or a good chance I should say, to point their way into the playoffs now, and he's of course making a good case to make that happen here today now as he leads away out of turn 3. Kyle Larson, our Hendrick Motorsports teammate, has now gotten up into the mix in P3 behind myself, but myself and Bubba would both continue to actually stretch out the gap to third place on back. We were now a good half a second at least or so in front of that third place car of Kyle Larson, but now I was starting to get more of an advantage here in the car, and I decided to put the attack back to the inside of the 23 of Bubba Wallace now as we're side by side down the front straightaway. We barely lead the lap over that 23 of Bubba Wallace now as we dive down into turns 1, but this is when it would start to get tricky. I mentioned how hard it is to pass on this inside, and sure enough, this was now coming into an effect as I could not pass that 23 of Bubba Wallace. He cleared us on the exit of turns 1 even. So definitely a good amount of speed in that 23, and I decided, you know what, he was leaving the door open on the outside, so I decided we're going to try and make this outside work here in Indianapolis, because we had enough of a gap to where we can kind of experiment a little bit with the different lanes now, and we almost made it work right there, but unfortunately he was still able to stay clear. So now halfway down the back straightaway now on lap 8, I decided to fight back up the inside of Bubba Wallace now into turn 3, but this time I decided to send it into the corner like I mentioned earlier. That was our other option. Well, unfortunately I didn't slow the car down enough, so Bubba crosses us over, gets back to the inside, clears me again as we come through now out of turn 4, so back down to second place as I get into the back of him just a little bit there, giving him a little bit of a push on the exit of the corner. But now I decide once again we're going to try and make that outside work, so we side draft him a little bit there now, even as we go down towards turns 1 with only 2 laps to go in stage 2, but unfortunately Bubba is able to get back clear of myself, so we continue to remain in second as we come through to 2 laps to go. The caution actually comes out here in the end, or at the end of stage 2, so that will end us a lap and a half early, so we get credited with P2 here in stage 2 as Bubba Wallace picks up a playoff point, which could be crucial if he does advance to the playoffs here and points his way in, or maybe even wins his way in today here in the Brickyard 400, as we're going to come into the pit lane to take 2 cans of fuel as well as 4 fresh tires. I wasn't too concerned. I definitely know we have a car capable of beating that 2311 car driven by Bubba Wallace, but it's just down to, can we complete the pass on Bubba Wallace to be able to pull away and win this race now, and we're about to find that out as we get ready to go green for the third and final stage. As you see, 3 cars a lap down or more as Derek Kraus, Gase a lap down, Sheldon Creed of course out of the races. We actually overtake the 23 car Bubba Wallace on the pit lane, move up to P1 for the start of the third and final stage. So instead of having to pass Bubba on the track, our pit crew gets the job done and puts us out front now as Kevin Harvick is alongside Kyle Larson on row number 2 as the green flag is back out. Only 15 laps remain in the Brickyard 400, and we are now in the perfect position to pull off the victory here today. Now as behind Harvick, you see Austin Cindric still having a solid run, but I mean for him, he, like I said, it pretty much has to win at this point as well to get himself into the playoffs now as we come through out of turn 2. But I've definitely learned at the start of stage 2 now we might have the fastest car later in the run, but definitely in the first couple laps, 2 to 3 laps of these stages, we definitely are going to be under attack because we don't have that fastest car now. As we go down into turn 3, Kevin Harvick is going to be able to likely clear that 23 of Bubba Wallace out of turn 3. Sure enough, he does as we go down into turns 4, and Joey Logano there trying to get up into the mix on the inside of Kyle Larson on the exit of the corner, as I actually clipped the outside wall there on the exit of turn 4. I got a little bit loose, and then I just kind of slid up the track, and fortunately it does not end too bad because we actually remain out front of the 4 of Harvick, because we really did not lose a whole lot of momentum to my surprise as we go down into turns 1. So staying in front of him now as we come through out of the corner. We actually clipped the wall again out of turns 1 there. That time, instead of getting loose, the car just pushed up really tight. So all of a sudden we're making a few mistakes nearly into the outside wall again. Now we're under attack from the Stewart-Haas Racing champion from 2014 in his final season now of his Cup Series career. Kevin Harvick, 2 wins so far on the season at Kansas, as well as just most recently at Chicagoland Speedway. So I'm trying to make sure I defend over that 4 of Harvick now as he's bringing Cindric into P3 behind him. Now as we came through though to lap 28, and now Harvick was trying to really get to my inside as we went down into turns 2, and unfortunately right there I kind of leave the lane open. We push a little tight on the exit of the corner, and Kevin Harvick attacks to the inside side by side down the back straightaway. Now as I decide we got to side draft him as hard as we can. We cannot let that 4 car get away, so I'm right on that quarter panel. We barely hold him back enough as we go down into turns 3, but the advantage is still going to be in his direction, and you're going to see that right here. Out of turn 3, Kevin Harvick clears us, and we drop back down to that runner-up position there in P2. So once again, we're going to have to do that fight of getting past that car in front of us, and hopefully we can make it happen on the inside lane now as we go down this front straightaway. As we come through to 10 laps to go though, out of turn 2, myself and Kevin had now pulled away from 3rd place on back, so now I put the attack to the inside of him as the car was starting to now transition to my advantage versus the other drivers. So I was very confident at this point we could make it happen now as we go down into turns 3, making a bit of a mistake right there, clipping that apron, and that now allows the 4 car to actually get back past around me here into turns 4. So definitely frustrating to try and make that inside lane work, but I was still hopeful here with another 9 laps to go once we cross the line that we can at least probably get 9 more attempts at passing the 4 of Harvick, and hopefully one of those will be successful now as we try one of potentially 9 right here, up the inside of the 4 again, down the back straight away into turn 3 on lap 32. Now as I decide we're going to just send it into the corner, and fortunately I get it slowed down enough this time. We tried it earlier, I think it was on Bubba Wallace, and unfortunately it didn't work. This time it does. Back to the lead we go here as we come through out of turns 4, coming to the final 8 laps of the Brickyard 400, and already pulling away from the 4 car of Kevin Harvick. So absolutely no competition whatsoever once we took the lead right there. And you can see on lap 33, a lap later, the gap had opened up even more between myself and Harvick. Now, but the caution actually comes out though with 8 laps to go in the Brickyard 400. Everybody coming to the pit lane. I was not 100% sure what to do right here. I haven't remembered being in a position quite like this one where we had to actually pit towards the end of this race. So I decided to actually go with no tires. Originally, I was thinking right side tires, but I was too concerned about giving up potential track position that I decided, you know what, just half a can of fuel and no tires, and we should be okay. So I was just hoping that the other drivers did not take tires now. As you see, we're going to be very close on fuel right there for the moment, but once we get back going here, we probably will have a good 2 laps extra now, as fortunately though I can confirm the other drivers did not take tires. So that made me a lot more confident coming into what could be this final restart here in the Brickyard 400. It will be 5 laps to go as the green flag is back out, and we are underway looking for our 2nd win at this track here now as we go down towards turns 1. Harvick on the outside, Cindric behind us, Bubba Wallace in P4, and then you got Joey Logano as well here as we come through into the mix now down towards turns 2. Logano actually up the inside of Austin Cindric, so out of nowhere, our rival of Logano is trying to pass his Penske Racing teammate for second place, and all of a sudden my concerns jump through the roof because I know if he gets to the back of me, he's just going to try and wreck me now as we go down into turns 3, so I was just hoping he was going to remain side by side with his Penske teammate, but then I kind of mess up turn 3 a little bit, and next thing you know, the 22 is within a car length as we go down into turns 4, and sure enough, now Logano's going to get to the back of us. He's going to try and wreck us on the exit of turns 4. Contact between myself and the Penske rival Logano into the outside while we keep it going. Larson now trying to attack to my inside. I know if he passes me, it's going to be very hard to get back past him, so I throw a block right there, and somehow we all keep it going now as we go down into turns 1, so we stay ahead of the 22 of Logano. He's stuck on the outside, so now he will not be able to get to our inside, or to the inside to get to us, I should say, now, as we are still ahead of Kyle Larson out of turn 2, and fortunately now we would start to calm things down and come through to 2.5 laps remaining. Larson still in second, Bubba Wallace back there in the mix, but Larson having a great effort here late in this race now as we come through out of turn 3, so just hoping that it stays green, of course, at this point, and sure enough, now out of turns 4 with 2 laps to go, Bubba Wallace had moved up into second place, and he was closing in on me a little bit here now, but we come through down this front straightaway to start the final lap here in the Brickyard 400. Bubba closing within about 3 to 4 car lengths as we go down into turns 1, so he's putting the pressure on a little bit now as we just really just have to cover that inside line, and we should be okay now. We just need to make sure we don't push up too much on either the exit of turns 2 or turns 4, and we get through turns 2 very well, actually open up a bit more of a gap between myself and Bubba as the tire light comes on. 20% now on the right rear tire remains. Of course, that is not going to be a problem here as we go down this back straightaway for the final time here on the Brickyard 400. Kevin Harvick 3rd, Kyle Larson 4th, Austin Cindric down in P5, and then Logano trails those 3 drivers there as we go down through turns 3 and 4 for the final time here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We won this race back, I believe, in our rookie season. It was. We've had a couple close finishes, most recently last season with Chase Elliott, but for the 4th time this season, we will come through to win here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Joey Logano had an opportunity right there at the end of that race on the final restart to potentially end my chances of victory today, but fortunately he did not make it happen there, but he definitely tried, to say the least, and honestly, if he wouldn't have hit the wall and got stuck on that outside, he might have had that opportunity again to try and wreck me in turns 1 or something, or maybe a next lap or 2. So fortunately it worked out for us, and we pick up win number 4 on the season, which puts us back atop the win count for the drivers this season, and of course on top of that playoff grid, and we continue to stretch out our regular season point lead, and I believe we're going for 3 regular season championships in a row right now, so that's going to be interesting to watch as we are pretty much just opening up the gap every race, it feels like, so there's really no pressure right now as you see the finishing order. Bubba Wallace, runner-up here in Indianapolis. I believe that's his second runner-up finish this season there, so I believe he finished second in Texas Motor Speedway earlier this season, if I remember correctly, as you see the rest of the order on your screen. Briscoe down there in P29, a very rough day for the Stewart-Haas driver now, as you see Eric Jones in the McLaren, Derek Kraus in the 95, and Sheldon Creed all DNF'd from the race now. So unfortunate for them. Of course, none of them are in the mix right now to make it into the playoffs, all in must-win situations. As you can see, we are well above Kyle Busch, who is second in the points here after our dominant performance at the Brickyard 400 at Indianapolis Motor Speedway now, as that's the first time I've seen a message come up from a driver in quite some time here in the career mode. But as always, if you guys enjoyed this episode, you do know what to do. I would, of course, like to thank you all for taking the time out of your day to watch this episode. It does mean a lot to me. I hope you enjoyed the announcement at the start of the episode with the brand new series coming to the career mode with the NASCAR Legend Series here, as we see the playoff grid. Of course, in the next episode, we go to Kentucky Speedway, a track that I've never really been great at, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens there as you now see the Xfinity grid. Haley Deegan moves up a little bit there to P2, I think it said, and then we lead the way here in the Cup Series as we continue to not have a new winner, so it's making the chances of these 4 drivers right now who are in on points actually make it happen. Now, actually 5. It appears that I think it is actually Brandon Jones who has fallen out of the playoffs because of him dropping below 30th in points. So all of a sudden, that's a bit of a shakeup now. But of course, I would like to say a quick thank you to the Going Racing members before we end this episode of MJ, Aiden, Joseph 9001, RJ, Timothy A, Bubba Jr., Illinois Diecast, Brett Durward, Dark Gengar Gaming, and then AJ Vasur, as well as Movement. As I always say, guys, help me out a lot, and I really do appreciate it. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great day, everybody.